Don't we all want this? Don't we all want free and fair elections we can all believe in all the time? Why would we not want that? Rand Paul was on George Snuffleupagus' show on, what is it, ABC or whatever? You know George. He was the old political operative for Bill Clinton who now pretends to be a journalist. And listen, I got no personal problem with Stephanopoulos, right? He's a political operative. I do have a problem, however, with Stephanopoulos pretending that he is somehow some independent, nonpartisan journalist. That's an utter absurdity. So he was on with Rand Paul, and Rand Paul dared to bring up serious constitutional questions about changes that were made to election law prior to the 2020 election that a lot of people are very concerned about. Well, that didn't go well for Stephanopoulos, who expected Rand Paul to fold relatively quickly. I got 3 cuts from this interview. It's that good. I was going to play the whole thing straight through, but it's 6 minutes long, so I had to cut it up. So check out video 1. Here's Rand Paul again, a masterclass in schooling the media, who is not going to be dissuaded from asking questions. Check this out.
This election was not stolen. Do you accept that fact?
Well, what I would say is that the debate over whether or not there was fraud should occur. We never had any presentation in court where we actually looked at the evidence. Most of the cases were thrown out for lack of standing, which is a procedural way of not actually hearing the question. There were several states in which the law was changed by the Secretary of State and not the state legislature. To me, those are clearly unconstitutional, and I think there's still a chance that those actually do finally work their way up to the Supreme Court. Courts traditionally and historically don't like to hear election questions. But yes, were there people who voted twice? Were there dead people who voted? Were there illegal aliens who voted? Yes, and we should get to the bottom of it. I'll give you an example. In my state, when we had a Democrat Secretary of State, she refused, even under federal order, to purge the rolls of illegal voters. We got a Republican Secretary of State, and he purged the rolls.
Senator Paul,
I have to,
difference,
and those things
I have to stop
occur.
you there. No election is perfect, but there were 86 challenges filed by President Trump and his allies in court. All were dismissed. Every state certified the results after investigations, counts, and recounts. The Department of Justice, led by William Barr, said there's no widespread evidence of fraud. Can't you just say the words, this election was not stolen?
What I would suggest is that if we want greater confidence in our elections, and 75% of Republicans agree with me, is that we do need to look at election integrity, and we do need to see if we can restore confidence in the elections.
There you go. Do you see what's going on now, folks? Listen, I fully understand and get that there are various degrees of seriousness to arguments made about what happened in the 2020 election. I get that. I think we've been clear on that from the start. Space aliens didn't come down and interfere in the 2020 election. However, there are very legitimate questions the media does not want you to ask. Why is that? I thought this was, they were in the arena of fact-finding and journalism. For instance, what Rand Paul said is accurate. Rand Paul had said that there were last-minute changes made not through legislative chambers in very specific states to election law, and it seems that the media wants to make that all go away. And my question to you in the media and to leftists, because they're the only ones who want to silence legitimate debate, is, listen, there are 2 sides to every story. And on one side, we're saying, well, what if we made last-minute election law changes in states like Texas and Florida that were Republican-leaning that basically shut some Democrats out of voting at the last minute, even if the effect was unintended, but it happened? Wouldn't you want us to ask questions about that? Isn't it a goal for all of us in a legitimate, free, fair, constitutional republic with a free and fair media? Isn't it a goal for all of us to want to have faith and fidelity and some loyalty to the process we believe in? Why is everybody so eager to shut everyone up? I'm genuinely confused about this. Here's part 2. The media desperate again to silence you. Part 2 of this interview with Rand Paul, where Stephanopoulos, again, pretending to be a journalist, just admit you're a partisan activist. There's nothing wrong with that. Listen, I was an activist. I was a candidate. I'm a conservative opinion maker. I have conservative opinions. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm honest about it. Just stop pretending to be a journalist. Here's Stephanopoulos again on a show that pretends to be doing journalism, questioning Rand Paul again and trying to silence him from bringing up legitimate questions about the process that happened in 2020. Check this out.
Well, 75% of Republicans agree with you because they were fed a big lie by President Trump and his supporters who say the election was stolen. Why can't you say,
well, I think where
President
you make,
Biden won a legitimate
where you
and
make
fair
a mistake,
election?
hey, George, where you make a mistake is that people coming from the liberal side like you immediately say everything's a lie instead of saying there are two sides to everything. Historically, what would happen is if I said that I thought there was fraud, you would interview someone else who said there wasn't. But now you insert yourself in the middle and say the absolute fact is that everything I'm saying is a lie.
Well, because, Senator, I said what the president said was a lie because he said, hold on a second. He said the election was stolen. This election was not stolen. The results were certified in every single state after counts and recounts.
You're saying that absolutely it was. You're saying there was no fraud and it's all been investigated. That's just not true.
So it's not what I said, sir. I said the Department of Justice found no evidence. Let me finish my point.
You said something that
was not true.
You say we're all liars. You're just simply saying we're all liars. And
I said it was a lie that the election was stolen.
Premise that you're right and we're wrong. Well, let's talk about the specifics of it. In Wisconsin, tens of thousands of absentee votes had only the name on them and no address. Historically, those were thrown out. This time they weren't. They made special accommodations because they said, oh, it's a pandemic, and people forgot what their address was. So they changed the law after the fact. That is wrong. That's unconstitutional. And I plan on spending the next 2 years going around state to state and fixing these problems. And I won't be cowed by liberals in the media who say, there's no evidence here and you're a liar if you talk about election fraud. No, let's have an open debate. It's a free country.
I thought that's what we did here in the United States. I thought we were allowed to do that. I thought we were allowed and permitted by, things like the Bill of Rights, God-given, big R God-given rights. I thought we were allowed to ask questions. We're not. We're not anymore. Why is the left gone full totalitarian? I want to say to the leftists and the people in the media trying to silence open debate, you really do disgust me. I think I've been fair about this from the start. I don't have evidence to show you number-wise that I can conclusively prove this election was stolen in 2020. I don't think I've ever said that. I'm actually pretty crystal clear of no, I don't have that evidence. However, I do have evidence that there were a lot of abnormalities in 2020, which are making a lot of sane, rational Americans question a lot of things about our elections. Why are you so eager to silence everyone? I don't understand the beach ball under the water. Why are you pushing the beach ball under the water so hard? Is Rand Paul not bringing up legitimate questions? Constitutional processes? Absentee ballots where processes were changed in the last minute, which made a lot of Americans question what happened in very specific districts? Why is George Stephanopoulos so eager to call everybody a liar? Ladies and gentlemen, here's the third part of this interview, where again, he talks about how the media just is inserting themselves into the story, Rand Paul that is, and not letting anybody speak openly about what happened or trying to silence everyone. And that's not working out quite well because Rand Paul seems quite upset about it. And I have to tell you, I said to someone yesterday who sent me this clip, this may be one of the single greatest media appearances I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years by someone who's just refusing to take it anymore, Rand Paul. Check this out.
There is no widespread evidence of election fraud that overturned the results. That was stated as well by the Department of Justice led by President Trump's Attorney General. In Wisconsin, there were counts and recounts.
Actually, it was never studied. Even that's not true. Even that's not true.
William Barr said that directly.
Barr said that, but there was, yes, he said that, yes, that was a pronouncement. There has been no thorough examination of all the states to see what problems we had and see if they could fix them. Now, let me say, to be clear, I voted to certify the state electors because I think it would be wrong for Congress to overturn that. But at the same time, I'm not willing just to sit here and say, oh, everybody on the Republican side is a liar and there is no fraud. No, there were lots of problems and there were secretaries of state who illegally changed the law and that needs to be fixed. And I'm going to work hard to fix it, and I won't be cowed by people saying, oh, you're a liar. That's the problem with the media today, is they say all Republicans are liars and everything we say is a lie. There are two sides to every story. Interview somebody on the other side, but don't insert yourself into the story to say we're all liars because we think there's some fraud in the election.
They're not.
You know, we're in a really dangerous place right now. Folks, I can't explain to you in strong enough terms how behind the scenes is far worse than what you're seeing in the public eye right now. The pressure being exerted on people to not speak, to shut their mouths, to render themselves prisoners in an ideological prison, and to not dare ask legitimate questions. Like, why did we have such significant roll-off in 2020? Why did we have so many people in various places that voted for the top of the ticket but not down ballot races? Is it not fair to ask that? Maybe there's a good, legitimate answer to that everywhere. I hope there is. No one should ever hope there was voter fraud. The entire republic would collapse. Has anyone asked in detail and done an analysis of why signature verifications, the rejection rate was so low despite an expansion of absentee and mail-in balloting? Does that seem to make any sense? Has anyone asked why we allowed bureaucrats and secretaries of state to make unquestionably unconstitutional changes to voting law at the last minute? Granted, we did have an outbreak of the coronavirus. That's not up for dispute. But the coronavirus outbreak happened long before the November election. We had months to figure it out. Why the last minute changes done without state legislatures, which didn't allow the system time to absorb all the shock of these new mail-in ballots? Don't we all want this? Don't we all want free and fair elections we can all believe in all the time? Why would we not want that?
You just heard Dan Bongino.